us now via telephone from Harare, Zimbabwe, is Sunday Times journalist Ray Ndlovu. Ray, thank you for being with us. Sure, the Constitutional Court rubbished the entire opposition case here.
Yeah, thank you, Francis, for having me. So today, the Constitutional Court making that ruling, and its ruling is final, and there's no other legal recourse now for the MDC Alliance after they dismissed this application of costs earlier in the day today.
The MDC, I mean, was there really flimsy evidence here? The whole team flew in from South Africa, but they weren't able to convince any of the 9 judges.
Yeah, I think it all came down really not a question of optics, but a question of evidence. That's a strong sentiment that we got from the ruling this afternoon, that the judges were looking not at the composition of the applicant's legal team, but really looking at evidence. What they wanted was evidence presented to them that would persuade them that there was a credence to their application, and in the failure, in the absence of them finished and given that evidence, we saw, the bench, the entire bench of 9 judges then making that unanimous view that they would uphold the results of that were made of Emmerson Mnangagwa's win on the election on 30 July.
Just remind us what the MDC, what evidence they did have, Ray, because this is incredible. They were claiming gross irregularities. They were claiming that they had firm, concrete proof.
Indeed, Francis. This is what in the last couple of weeks the MDC Alliance has really come on strongly to say that they had tons of evidence within their arsenal, and that included V11 forms, and these are forms which are posted outside each polling station that really would provide an ability to check against the figures, check the figures of the people that actually cast their ballots. And so the MDC indicated for weeks on end that they had the V11 forms. And remember, Francis, there are about 10,185 polling stations within this election. So it gave the impression that right across they had all the data, they had all the evidence within their hand. But again, when it came down to the courtroom showdown, it seemed, they were found wanting. And then, it made really the boast that was made by their leader, Chamisa, just a couple of days ago, appear significantly quite hollow.
Ray, give us a sense of the mood in Harare tonight following this judgment.
Well, it's really business as usual. That was the nature of the day, even before the judgment itself. It was really people going about their everyday business. And even when the judgment was finally handed in the later part of the afternoon, people were knocking us home and really going about their normal business. Just only within the precinct of the ZANU-PF headquarters was the celebrations and party supporters cheering that finally this had, been put aside and finally out of the way, we should see an official inauguration ceremony taking place on Sunday. But for many people really within the city center, it's just business as usual.
Is there a possibility of violence?
I don't see that happening at this point in time, because there were there was a significant presence of police manning the court precinct as well, and the police had issued a statement earlier this week to warn against, any violence or any person which might plan to demonstrate or perpetrate any violence of sort. So it was a very strong warning. And again, Francis, remember, on the back of the events that happened earlier this month, and those scenes of bloody clashes on the streets, I don't think really there's an appetite to see something of that sort as well breaking out and tainting already, what has been a long and very disputed election contest.
Is there a heightened security presence? Do you feel that? I mean, because there has been violence post disputed elections in Zimbabwe before, and as you say, violence 2 days after the recent polls.
Well, there was quite a significant presence of the police, especially around the precinct of the Constitutional Court and a further couple of streets down. So that definitely indicates a sense of being on high alert among the security forces and the security structures within the country. So I would really imagine that they've have their ears on the ground, really, trying to get a sense of what the response will be from the MDC Alliance. So that again, that they are not happy with this result, and with your package, they indicate that we're going to have a meeting later on in the week to deal, or rather to come up with a position around the ruling that's been given by the Constitutional Court today. So I think we're going to see some sort of anxiety continuing even beyond just today and even on Sunday, and for some of days still perhaps the leaders themselves in the alliance come on strong to say they accept this ruling and assure their supporters for them in terms of, perhaps accepting it. And the other sense is going to take place later on next week.
Ray, we're losing the quality of the line, but let me try throw in one final question. You have looked at the rise of Emmerson Mnangagwa. You've written a book about to come out. He's going to be inaugurated on Sunday. What can we expect now? Does he have a stronger mandate going forward?
I think he is able now to give that 5-year term which he needed, on the back of how he came into power last year. But again, the fact that this poll has been disputed, it does take a knock off the legitimacy which he wanted. He wanted a clean win, a win that would not be disputed at all. But of course now, because of his disputes and the fact that this has spilled into court, there's always going to be a tainting within the minds of the people. Because remember, again, there are 2 million people who voted against him. So again, there's that question of how then is he going to be able to deal with that and try to unite the country and bring in those people to support him. So it's something really that still seems to have eluded him, and this is what the election was all about from his point of view.
All right, thank you very much. Ray Ndlovu, Sunday Times journalist from Harare in Zimbabwe.